Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
A new season brings with it all the excitement of a new standing sheet, a blank scoring table, and everything that comes with it. And this year, for the season, we have a new challenger coming into the mix in the form of the Mercedes-AMG GT4. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the iRacing Israel League here on Apex Racing TV. My name is DJ Clark, joined here in the commentary booth by Dane Beard with Sam Fitzpatrick behind the scenes as our director and producer. And Dane, I can't think of a better way to get things started here than at Watkins Glen, one of the homes of GT racing in America. This is going to set up for a fantastic season opener.
Oh yeah, it absolutely is. We had a brilliant season that finished a couple of weeks ago in the TTR cars, and yeah, Watkins Glen, fantastic circuit, easily my favorite US circuit, maybe slightly ahead of Road Atlanta. Yeah, as US circuits go, Watkins Glen is definitely up there. Pretty new laser scan as well, that got updated a few months ago, so yeah, awesome circuit for them to start off with. Nice and wide, nice and cambered, quite an easy circuit for them to get used to the GT4s, because we haven't driven the GT4s in the iRacing Israel League for what must be 2 years now, so yeah, a lot to get used to for the drivers coming from the front-wheel drive touring cars, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they can do for us here at Watkins.
Yes, indeed. And as you said, this circuit did get that new laser scan here a couple of months ago on the iRacing service, taking away some of the track limits. Drivers are allowed to now run a little bit wider than you would normally expect running around the circuit. Also, some of the curbing has been updated. Watch out for coming up through the bus stop. Those curbs are very, very high and intense, and they can really catch drivers out. Currently, right now, out on track for qualifying as the drivers go at 27 degrees Celsius, 52% humidity in the air, and not a whole lot of wind to speak of, only about 3 kilometers per hour as it runs. So pretty ideal conditions for racing as we wait here, the Pro and the AM field getting together as they run. And Dane, I've got to say here, obviously, you know, we're used to seeing all of this play itself out as they go. Really, really good stuff. And we focus here on Bertigalili as he works his way around. The McLaren seeming to be the choice car around this circuit.
Yeah, it was obviously an interesting thing for us before the season started to figure out what cars are people going to pick, because obviously you've got plenty of choice with all the different GT4s. You've got the McLarens that we're seeing a lot of. You've got the Mercedes. You've the new Mercedes that just came out very recently, I believe. The Aston Martin that came out a couple months ago. And then you've got the original Porsche, which is where this series started back in the second season, which was the first real season. They had a small week-long season, and the Skippies moved on to GT4s. That was the first season that they had on the broadcast as well. So yeah, it's a very interesting mix of cars. And then obviously you've got the BMW there as well, the big BMW M4. So yeah, there's loads of choice for the drivers. And yeah, it is interesting to see how all the drivers are picking. McLaren, obviously, it's an interesting car. It is often quite quick. At the moment, I believe it is the fastest GT4. I say fastest, it's very slightly quicker than the rest, which is probably why we've seen a lot of them on the circuit at the moment. But it is an odd car to drive. It handles quite weird, in my opinion. I much prefer the Porsche. It's the first one that I drove. It's the one that I've stuck with in GT4 the entire time. But yeah, we've seen a lot of different cars out there. I think we have got at least one of each on the circuit as well, which is always good to see.
Yes, it is, and you are correct, but right now it is Dorian leading the way as they run here, the number 69 in the Aston Martin, on one of the newer GT4s to come onto the sim, and we've only got about 5 seconds left here in qualifying for drivers to finish up their laps, and that's going to set up for us here as they run a session here that is going to be 2 15-minute sessions, and then it will be back and around. There is your qualifying qualifying order. You can see Dorian Tabachek there up at the top, Harge Farron, and then Chaka, Isaac, Day, Malkov there behind them. A very, very good run for Isaac there, being able to put that AM car up into the top running with the other pros. Looking down the order as things run there, Chico, Gross, Yaron, Maranzi, Sherling, and Meshalom rounding out your top 12. All of those pro drivers out on track. As we said, this is going to be pro and AM split here as they run, but drivers are allowed to race with each other, so that's going to make things very, very good. Waiting here for a full pace lap, and Dane, this is really the point in the race where drivers are going to be trying to test out those cars, just get everything up to temperature and try to calm the nerves down. Doing a full pace lap around here, it can help you because it gets your car up to speed a little bit, but at the same time, there's a lot of time to be thinking about that run down into the 90 as we continue to run down through that starting order. There you can see the rest of the AM drivers: Ventura, Sir, Stern, Sony, Shur, Ben Yosef, Mazuz, Azgai there, Lost, and Galili rounding out your 24 runners as they go. But as I was saying, full pace lap here, plenty of time to get up to speed and plenty of time to let those nerves really set in.
Yeah, it definitely can be tricky. I know that for me, when I've got a long pace lap to go around, yeah, the right foot on the accelerator, it gets a little bit jittery. But yeah, once the green goes, yeah, that foot goes straight to the floor. And you don't have to worry about that again. Then it's the left foot on the brakes that starts to go haywire into turn one. It's usually a cause of quite a lot of incidents. They're usually quite good in this series in turn one. They're quite respectful at the beginning of races as the Porsche GT3 safety car is going to make its way off and we get rolling for that pace lap. But it is quite a good turn one at Watkins Glen. It's not too far. There's not a massive run down, so the driver...
No, indeed, it is not too big of a run down into the corner, and indeed, it's a little bit of a mixed bag diving down into that corner. Yes, it is the first chance that you're really going to be able to get that overtake done, but at the same time, trying to get that move in there, you almost compromise yourself a little bit as you run into the corner. Really and truly, what you want to do is you certainly want to try to maybe get a little bit more of a straight line speed difference going down through the S's. Very, very crucial to try to get that as really the primary overtaking opportunity, probably going down into the bus stop, although we can see plenty of fight backs going down through the boot. And there we see the drivers coming down that back straightaway right now as we speak, working in, everybody weaving, trying to get those tires up to temperature, as we said, taking a look back in the field here at Ivan Scheer in that McLaren. As we said, that is the favored car out on the circuit right now, and there are those newly profiled curbs coming up and over the bus stop area. I've seen more than a few drivers getting thrown out by those, and we're going to have to watch out for that, Dane, as I think a couple of drivers are going to really, really struggle with that. We may see some cars get a little bit of air over those corners.
Yeah, watching the Watkins Glen 6 Hour, the special event on iRacing, it was quite funny to watch some of the pro drivers absolutely launching it over the curves at the bus stop, and then to watch the real world 6 hours of the Glen on the weekend, and especially like the DPIs, those drivers were going nowhere near the curbs at all. They were staying well clear of them. So I think that's what we're going to see a little bit of, especially near the lower end of this field. The drivers are not going to be wanting to take those risks over the curbs because it's not likely to damage the car, but it definitely will unsettle it. And once you unsettle the car through there, especially with the 3 changes of direction you've got to make, if you unsettle the car with the walls quite close as well, it can lead to disaster very, very quickly. Only a couple corners now until we get underway, and that's one of the corners in the background that is very easy to run wide, and that was always a problem in the old scan because it was grass. Now it's tarmac and there's no 1x, there's no slowdown, so the drivers will probably be making good use of that here today as well.
Yeah, indeed, they will. I know that's something that I've struggled with a little bit in my own racing, trying to get around there and trying to teach myself that you can run onto that tarmac as they go. But the Porsche pace car getting ready to pull off down to pit lane here, giving the control of the field over to Dorian Tabachek here as they go. The Aston Martin ready to get on the loud pedal, holds up the field here a little bit on the main straightaway, waiting for Barney the Flagman to wave the flag, and there goes the green. We are racing in Watkins Glen. It is a brilliant start there, way for that Aston Martin. The field fanning out behind them as we dive down into the 90. A little bit of movement here and there as they go. Yari Malkov there in the back of the field trying to run it down. Looks like the first couple of rows are nice and clean through 3, 4 wide as we work our way up into the S's for the first time. You've got to be a little bit careful here, making sure you don't get too squirrely coming up this tricky part of the track.
Yeah, especially in the beginning of the race, your tires can be cold if you haven't been warming them up on the pace lap, and of course, not really ideal stuff trying to make your way through there, especially not if you're going too wide. A lot of the drivers might not even have any experience going too wide through some of these parts of the course at all, as there's a little bit of a move being made in towards the bus stop chicane. They're going side by side a little bit further back as well. Huge gaggle of cars making their way now around the outer loop. Really long corner, nice and banked as well, so you can carry loads of speed, use all the exit, right up against the wall, and now down into this very difficult part of the circuit, the boot. Very easy to get all of these corners wrong, and if you do, well, there is grass waiting for you, and that grass sends you in a one-way ticket straight to the wall on the outside. But actually very impressed, because it looks like we made it completely clean through this first part of the race.
Yes, indeed we have. We've got a little side-by-side battle here going on between Yaron and Gross as they dive down now into the corner. Was that one we were talking about as it runs a little bit wide? The Mercedes trying to carry some speed. That's a car off in front of them. I'm not entirely sure who that is as they run, but that's going to bottle everything up here going into turn 9. Such a tricky corner to get right. Little bit of a hip chuck there between the two McLarens.
A little bit aggressive, making their way out of the boot and back onto the Cup circuit, and all the way off the circuit you can run there. Again, no 1X in sight. Make your way all the way around this final corner, get as close to that safer barrier on the exit as you dare, and now we'll see who gets a good run, making their way onto lap number 2. But it is, of course, Tabachek who is leading out in that Aston, followed by a heap of McLarens.
Yes, indeed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 McLarens as they run. We've got a little bit of a problem in the back. That is Bakar having a problem for BHR Motorsports. The 277 off into the 90.
And we saw Ben Yosef there making very good use of the tarmac runoff that I was talking about on the outside of the corner to avoid something that happened at turn 1. It just didn't happen on lap 1. They managed to save all of their incidents for lap 2. See what happens here on the replay, and is there going to be a little bit of help? There is, but will actually help himself a little bit, Matty Bakar, unfortunately. And then, ooh, big contact there on the exit as one of the McLarens wasn't quite able to avoid this tricky Mercedes there.
No, it really wasn't. As you carry so much speed down through that corner, it can really catch you out. We jump up here to John Chico right now as they run. This is currently the battle for 4th in the pro category, side by side, going down in through the corners here. A little bit of a cutoff. I love that corner that they run out of right there. Going through the toe of the loop like that, there's really 2 entrances into the corner. You can try to carry as much speed as possible in or carry as much speed as possible out. That's going to set up a little bit of move there behind as Malkov going to have a little bit of a look behind as well. Everybody running here now. Nadav Yaron trying to see if he can get anything going. This is a very, very fierce battle here in the mid-pack.
Yep, it definitely is, and with it being such a short race, only 15 minutes long, they kind of have to be aggressive now because they're not going to have too many more opportunities. It's quite a long lap when you include the boot section of Watkins Glen, good 5.5 kilometers or so they do need to make their moves as quickly as they can get them available. There's no point sitting behind in the draft, saving fuel and saving your tires or anything like that in a 15-minute sprint. So they've got to go out there immediately, and so far that's what they've been doing with quite a bit of success. And, yeah, loads of cars being involved in quite some big battles, and it's good to see that the McLarens aren't just wiping out the entire front of the field. We have got a few Mercedes, the Aston in the front, the Porsche just a little bit further behind of Mechelen as well, so it's good to see that the McLarens haven't completely taken over.
Yes, indeed it is. A little bit of movement Sherling there coming around in that position. Now remember, that is Isaac there in that number 90 machine. That is your AM leader as they run well up into the mix of all of the pro drivers. So a fantastic run there for them. We focus on Reem Gross right now in the number 44 Mercedes AMG GT4, trying to hold ahead right now of Yaron. Yaron going to have a little bit of a dive going down into the boot, but a chop off there for the Mercedes. Says, not today, thank you. And that may open up a little bit of an opportunity there from behind. Sherling looking like he may have a little bit of a run.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to look to the inside as well now, and a big block there from Yaron, who's managed to somehow stay in front. I think had he not just made that huge block there, absolutely immediately going to be sent up the inside by Sherling. Is going to try it now again, up the inside into the heel of the boot. They're going to go side by side. They're going to use all of the exit tarmac, and they're still side by side. They try and get all the way up here. They're still side by side, making their way back onto the cup circuit. And finally, Sherling is just about in front. Is Yaron going to try and make it side by side once again? No, he's not. He finally settles in to single file once more. But those two battling has allowed the Porsche and the McLaren just behind of Meshlam and Mizrahi. They've caught up, and now there's an extra couple cars involved in this one.
Well, and that's really what can happen here around Watkins Glen because of the constant sort of switchback nature of it. We jump up here as Chaka having a little bit of a move up to the inside. That's going to move him up past Day as they run, and that is going to be up into second place into the race for Chaka and the number 42. A good run there for them. Now we're going to have to see if he's going to be able to close down the gap to the leader about 1.6 seconds up the road. Crucially, that's going to be out of effective draft range.
Yeah, making their way in towards the bus stop again. There's a car on the far inside. Not sure if that's somebody defending incredibly hard. Oh, a little bit of a spin there. Was there some help, or was it just the curbs unsettling the car? But it's a 95 of Haggai Farron that's gone around and going to try and find a good opportunity to cut across the circuit and turn around. It can be very difficult in that part of the circuit when you've got the cars, especially at the beginning of a race, when you've got the cars filing through. We'll try and see exactly what happened here to Haggai Farron. Oh, a little bit of a slow car on the inside. And there it is. There is a little bit of help from the Mercedes.
Yeah, and that was really just sort of a compounding incident there for Farron as he ran through the corner. Good waiting there for the number 95 to sort of hold back on it and try to get the safest rejoin that he can. We jump you back up to the front of the field. Malkov trying to hold off Chico as they run, trying to see if there is a little bit here. This is currently your highest placed Mercedes holding off down into turn 9. That is not normally an area where you see overtakes, as that is a very, very tricky corner coming onto a flat portion of the track. But I gotta say here, Chico looking very aggressive.
Yep, so they're going to make their way through the final corner now, and Malkov does leave this little group here, and a couple of Mercedes.
Yeah, a couple of Mercedes, and here comes the move.
Go to the
Yeah, down to the inside there, side by side, coming through the 90, and it's going to be a blast up the S's here as they run. Is there going to be a little bit of comeback here? Maybe, but it may be Gross that has the opportunity to be able to fight back there in the number 44. Watch for a little bit of the defensive moves as they run, coming this way and that. There comes the McLaren trying to get the fight back as they run. They're going to be side by side down into the bus stop, trying to see what it is, and they're going to stay single file. Oh my goodness, I didn't think that was going to sort itself out well. And now look out for, I believe that's Sherling trying to make a little bit of a move here on Gross.
Yep, trying, but couldn't quite get a good enough exit. And they're going to make their way into the boot section now, and it looks like Yaron's going to try and make a move on Sherling, but Sherling had that one covered off. And yeah, they're definitely not afraid to make moves in this series. That's one thing that they definitely have going for them. They see a gap, they send it, and there are no exceptions to that rule at all. And I absolutely love it. We have got about 6 minutes left of this first race, and whilst it doesn't look like it's going to change too much up at the top, well, right here in the midfield, well, the middle of the top 10, they're really going for it, and a little bit wide of the McLaren in front, and that's all the invitation that Reem Gross needs to try and send it around the outside of the left-hander, rejoining the cup circuit, and that's not going to work out quite as well as Reem would have hoped.
No, I don't think so. He was looking for a little bit. Oh, we've got a car off in the back there. One of the BMWs, I believe that's Ben Yosef. No, excuse me, that's Ventura. They're having problems coming up over the hill. And we talked about a little bit earlier just how tricky that corner is if you're not pixel perfect. Getting the throttle down, so easy to spin those rears.
Yep, and trying to figure out how to turn the car around eventually has just gone for the toe. Definitely the safest option there for Ventura. Are they going to go side by side through the S's now? No, they're not, but this is Gross with a huge run. Actually bump drafting, it looks like. They were bump drafting through the S's. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't do that, but it seems to have worked out just fine for them. Definitely didn't want to lift off because you've got Sherling, and now they're all weaving, trying to find a position to make their way through the bus stop chicane. And oh, it's a massive slide from all the drivers trying to work out who's actually on the circuit. I think Sherling was the only one who managed to stay on it.
I think he was as well. Everybody kind of taking their own lines going down through the bus stop. Here comes a big move, though, for the 200 there of Michael Sherling, trying to be able to get himself up and by Chico here as they run, but that McLaren up front continues to hold on. This is for 4th in pro right now. This mid-pack battle continues to be very, very electric. Waiting to see here if Sherling's going to be able to get a better run there out of the toe. All of them starting to wheel their way forward. It looks like they're dropping Gross ever so slightly, about 0.5 of a second behind. Looking down to the inside is Sherling. Is he going to send a move down into the heel of the boot? No, cut off by Chico.
That's just, oh, there's a car around in the background. Who's that? Is it Rancioni? I think it might just, no, it's not. It's Yaron. Yaron in the background has spun at the heel of the boot. We'll try and figure out what exactly happened there. But I think something's happened to our race leader, Dorian Tabashnik, as well, because he's now under huge pressure from the driver in second position, Ruben Chachashvili. He's going to make his way up the inside and towards the first corner. He's going to make that move stick as well. A good opportunity for Tabashnik to try and make the position back up again, down this long straight in towards the chicane. But what's happened for Dorian? Because last I checked, he had a second lead.
He did indeed. He must have had a little bit of an error coming through the final sector of the track, but as you said there, Dane, he is going to be on the loud pedal here, absolutely pushing his way forward, and he's going to get a nice helping of the draft over Chacha here, trying to see what he is able to do. Is he going to look down to the inside of the bus stop? No, he's going to hold it back. They ride over the curbs, taking as much as they can. Tabachnik now trying to see if he can get anything going through the outer loop, pushing that car as much as possible. Aston Martin versus McLaren going down into the boot section. We are now going to see if the number 42, that was a late dive!
Oh, a little bit of contact being made as they make their way through the chute, and now along the top of the boot, they're still side by side. Huge lunge into the chute there. This is just about going to have to back out, but that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it really did. That was a late braking maneuver going down in there. Now looking this way, and that is they go down that little mini straightaway, and there you can see the time that was lost there by Tabachnik as they run. He's going to have a little look around the outside here in that number 40 or that number 69 Aston Martin. Tries to get the lineup now going into turn 9. That's an aggressive maneuver. I can't believe he was able to stick it down to the inside. They're going to be side by side as they rejoin the Cup circuit.
They have got to be incredibly careful here because they're going to have one more lap. And look who's trying to join the party. It's none other than Alon Day. Not only previous season champion, I think he's champion of the series 3 times already. He's also 3-time Euro NASCAR champion. He is very quick, and they are going to be worried to see this man starting to fill up their mirrors. He's currently just broken a couple records at Brands Hatch a few weeks ago in the real world. Very quick driver, and he's caught them up. And that is very bad news for them. If they carry on battling like they did on the last lap, he is definitely going to get involved. And I think that's only going to go for one of two ways. Either they all wreck out, or he gets in front, because usually Alon is quick enough to be able to make that happen. We'll see what happens here in towards the bus stop. Are we going to see a big send? Not quite yet.
Tabachnik there thought about sending it down to the inside, but backed out of it. Choosing discretion is the better part of valor. Again, though, that Aston Martin being very, very close to the number 42 McLaren up in front of him. And Alon Day here just waiting to pick up the pieces as they run. Rider line for Tabachnik there, going down into the chute. Let's see what they're going to be able to get as he gets a little bit of a better run there off of the corner. Going down into the heel, he's going to have to look around, going into the toe rather, he's going to have to look around the outside. Tries to carry momentum there in that Aston Martin. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it as they come back now. Cha-Cha holding on as they go, and here comes Day.
Yep, he's seeing a move. He's seeing a gap. He's already up alongside, and he's going to be thinking about the race win now at this point, as the clock is going to tick past 15 minutes. This will be the final couple of corners of the race. Side by side, falls out second place. And I think Ruben Chachas might just be going to be winning this race. And Tabachnik, it's all gone wrong for him. He's gone from first to third in a couple of laps, but Day caught up, and he made that move immediately. The second there was a gap, straight in there.
Exactly, he saw the gap, he went for it, and Cha-Cha here coming now to the line, just kissing the wall on the outside, and checkered flag waves there for the number 42. That is victory for you, Ruben Cha-Cha, as they run. Day going to be able to come in behind with Tabachnik, and we've had a big off in the back. Bertie Galili there having a big problem from 8th in the AM category.
Yep, he's lost the left front suspension there as well, so that was big contact with the wall or another car. And we'll see what happens on the last lap as well. So unfortunate with the timing of that in that 420 machine. And just take a look at Ido Isaac. He just managed to somehow pull 7, 8 cars in the pro category between himself in first and Eden Scher in second place in the AM category. So huge drive for that AM driver. We'll see what happened to Galili here on the replay.
Oh, looks like he just carried too much speed coming down into the toe. That rear end not exactly wanting to comply and slipping on out. And looks like he jammed himself into the tire barriers here around Watkins Glen.
Yep, he's got fully stuck, and that is so unfortunate to happen on the last 4 corners away from the end of the race too. Was looking in a decent position as well. So very unfortunate stuff there. As we wait for the last couple of drivers to end the race, here's where it gets interesting, because we've got a reverse grid for the second race of 10 cars. So those drivers right up at the front, they're going to have to make their way through 7 or 8 cars in front of them at the beginning of this second race. And that can throw a huge spanner in the works, because as we've seen time and time again, the drivers at the front tend not to be used to driving at the back. And that can make a couple of mistakes happen. Drivers in front being a little bit unpredictable. Quite often we'll see absolute chaos at the beginning of the second race with a reverse grid. Hopefully we don't get that today, but you can never count it out, especially here at Watkins.
Exactly, and especially with his sort of unpredictable as it is going down into the 90 and then the draft up the S's going into the bus stop. There are your results for the first race. As we said, Cha-Cha, Day, and Tabachnik there leading the way with Malkov and Isaac there in your top 5. Again, Ido Isaac, a fantastic run there for the AM category, really pulling that along. Chico, Sherlin, Gross, Mazzara, and Masholem rounding out your top 10. Looking down into the AM category there, you can see Scher and Ben Yosef rounding out the top 3. And as you said, that 10-car invert here that is now going to come into play as we wait for these other drivers to grid and we run you through the rest of that order. That's really going to change things up. That's really going to put some impetus on the drivers up front, I think, that are starting in that finished in that 10th, 9th, 8th position, that they're really going to have to throw some elbows out, maybe get a little bit defensive, and those drivers coming in from behind that won the race as they run, that's going to make them be a little bit more aggressive. I think we could see a little bit of carnage here, Dane.
Yeah, and the drivers that are starting this race near the front, that finished the last race near the end of the top 10, they're not slow. We've seen all of these drivers up at the front. In fact, I think we've seen every single driver, almost every single driver in the top 10 win a race in this series before. None of them are slouches. they are all very capable of holding their own on a racetrack, especially if they get put in such an advantageous position as Amir and Nira in at the moment. They can definitely hold their own, so they're not pushovers. This will be a little bit of a challenge for the drivers behind them to get back in front of them as they did in the last race, and it'll be very interesting to see how the race start of this one goes, because we have seen in the past a couple of drivers, one very funny instance of a driver who'd never ever started a race on pole, let alone a rolling start, didn't actually know what to do. I don't think we're going to see that now, but it can cause some issues with drivers up near the front. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, we're going to see a very interesting second race here. First reverse grid of the season in the GT4s. We'll see what they can do.
We'll see indeed. And, you know, as we said there, the most favored car in this session does appear to be that McLaren. And it looks like that it was holding on there pretty fairly well. Although I do have to say that we saw great moves out of all of the cars. And some good parity across the board, and that's really a testament to the iRacing service as a whole, making these cars as even as possible. Obviously, they'll generate some speed at different portions of the track. You may have one car that's faster through the corners and a little bit slower down the straightaways, other cars that are reversed, and it really is just trying to find that car that suits your driving style in these GT4 categories, and it makes for such fantastic racing.
Yep, I mean, if you just take a look at the cars that we've got at the front of the field right now. In the top 10, we've got a Porsche right at the front, and then a McLaren, a Mercedes, and then we've got an Aston near the back. The single BMW is about halfway through the field. Only one driver opting for the BMW. The BMW has never been a popular car in the GT4s, just never has. Massive car obviously isn't the easiest thing to move about. It didn't have the best bop when it first came in either, so a pretty unpopular car. But the rest of the cars, I mean, we can see them all on the screen right now, and that's awesome to see, just the variety of different cars. It looks more like a GT3 field than a GT4 field.
It certainly does, and massive credit to iRacing. They've really put a big investment in bringing this GT4 field up to spec, adding in as many cars as possible. But we could wax poetically about what iRacing has been doing here for eons, but we can't do that for much longer because we've got racing to take out on track. Amir Masholem is going to be bringing this field to the green, as you said, in that Porsche, bringing it around through the final corner, waiting for everybody else to check up behind as we wait for the green flag to fly here in race 2. And there goes Masholem. We are racing again in Watkins Glen.
4 wide.
Behind. Oh my goodness gracious, as you said, 4 wide behind. It's 4 wide, 2 deep almost for a second as they run. This is not going to end well. Careful, boys, as we dive down now into the corner, trying to see what can happen. A little bit of contact. I don't know how they sorted themselves out there, Dade.
Oh, they made it through. They were literally 4 wide. The top 9 cars. First driver out in front. The next 8, 4 wide, 2 rows deep. How on earth they managed to sort that out before turn 1 with minimal contact and no one actually sending it off the circuit entirely? That's insane. But somehow we've got to sort this even more because 2 wide through the bus stop doesn't go particularly well, as we've seen on multiple occasions. A couple drivers going wide and a big wreck here. Is it going to be a big wreck? It almost was. A couple drivers managing to avoid. How was no one slammed into the back of the 90? The awareness of the drivers today has been absolutely second to none. Any other day, that car is being obliterated. If you're spinning on the apex of the bus stop, there's no chance your car survives. But somehow, they've managed to do it. A little 360, and they continue.
Absolutely remarkable, and that was Ito Isaac there that we saw having that spin, the leader in the AM category. He has maintained the lead in AM as they run somehow miraculously. We watch here Alon Day and Tabachnik continuing their battle on a little bit from the earlier race. That Aston Martin closing in behind, a little bit of a good battle there behind as well. Everybody trying to sort themselves out here again. This second race, another 15-minute race, so not a lot of time to be able to get things. Another almost 4 wide there coming down out of the boot. My goodness gracious, these boys are absolutely on it today.
And yet somehow we've only lost one car from the race so far, 2 cars from the race, 1 car's quite far back. So that is quite impressive. As we make our way across the start-finish line to start lap number 2, we've already had 4 different occasions of 4 wide here at Watkins Glen. This is one of the reasons I love the circuit, it's so wide, and it does just promote fantastic racing. A little bit wide through turn 1 was Meshlam, got a bit loose, and that's allowed Reem Gross to make his move in that Mercedes up into first position. They're almost going to go side by side, but Sherling can't quite force his way through there, and he's going to swerve a little bit too much. And oh, as we switch camera angles, around goes John Chico, and there's quite significant damage to the right-hand side of that McLaren GT4.
And that is the last place you want to have an issue like that. One of the fastest places on the circuit. It just looked like that car got a little bit squirrely coming up and over the S's. Maybe some weight transfer throwing off that McLaren. He is going to find himself to be able to sort it back in line here, but he is going to be well down the order. Big kerfluffle up ahead. That's going to be Dror Last having a problem, and he is going to find that Aston Martin spinning around onto the exit of the corner, trying to get it back going again. There may be some suspension damage, and indeed he's going to tow another driver off. Zur, obviously having a problem on the exit of the outer loop. Well, they kept the chaos in control for the first couple of laps, but it certainly fires off here. Jumping back up into the battles, though. Lunde trying to work his way around right now as he goes, seeing what they can do as they go down into the heel of the boot. Side by side, it's Aston Martin versus McLaren as they go, and it looks like the Aston's going to have the edge. Watch out for the 233 there behind of Malkoff trying to make a move as well.
Oh, he's ended up the inside in towards turn 9. He's actually going to be able to make this move stick. They're going to be side by side again, heading into the penultimate corner now. This left-hander very fast, and it looks like he's just about backed out, but that's going to be a definite battle to watch as they make their way up down the back straight. Definitely something, or maybe now the main straight. Who knows, as he makes a massive run out of the final corner down the start-finish straight here. He's easily going to have this move done in towards the 90, surely.
I would have to think so.
Oh.
There is, yep, there he's going to get the move done, but it's Marai. Yep, there he comes back on the fight back. They're going to be side by side again, almost 3 wide. That's going to be Chacha trying to make a move as they go. They're going to settle themselves out, run single file up through the S's, and now it's going to be a draft battle going into the must stop. I
love the series. Absolutely zero fear in these drivers. They've seen carnage all over the place. As we can see now with our sole BMW in the series, Huda Ben Yosef has found himself in the barriers quite hard, it seems, on the exit of turn number 1. Absolutely zero fear from these drivers. They've seen all the carnage happening, and yet they're still trying to send it side by side, 3 wide all over the place. As now Malkov is going to try and put that Mercedes around the outside. Now it becomes the inside for the shoot up the inside of Mizrahi, and surely this is going to make the move stick. Is it? Yes, it is. He gets a good exit.
Yeah, Mizrahi's going to have to find himself slotted in line as Chacha trying to find a little bit of a move there, looking to the outside, looking to the inside potentially as they go down into the corner. I think that's Yaron as well behind, was just able to get a move there on Kabe as they run. Now into the little run, going down into the heel of the boot. We ride on board with Ruben Chacha as they go down. Is he going to be later onto the brakes, going down into the heel? It looks like he is, forces his way to the inside. Is he going to try to push that Mizrahi out wide? It looks like he is, not giving a lot of room at the apex. That is going to be position gained there for Ruben. A really heads-up play for that McLaren driver.
Yep, another champion, former champion in the series, and here is one of the series founders, Amir Meshlam, and unfortunately he's got 2 other champions on his back as well. You've got Michael Sherling and you've got Alon Day, and just behind you've got Dorian Tabashnik trying to join this party as well. So 3 champions of the series trying to make their way past, and a big send up the inside for Alon Day, and oh wow, it's double trouble there as well as Tabashnik gets past Sherling as well. But look at that, Alon Day all the way wide, and he's going to not have any speed on the exit, making their way up the hill now. He's going to have to watch out because Tabashnik's right on his heels.
Yes, he is. And you saw there Tabashnik in that Aston Martin taking the first part of the S's a little bit wider, trying to narrow that up. But we may go a little Noah's Ark here down into the corner, 2 by 2 as they run. Who's going to be able to come out on the pointy end of the field? It does look like Day's going to be able to take it there over Masholem. And then Tabashnik and Sherling going at it side by side. The Porsche getting pushed out wide, losing 3 positions in the first half of this lap.
Yeah, but I think just trying to get out of the way, almost it looked like on the outer loop there, not trying to get in the way of those three who are definitely favourites to win the race. Those three very quick drivers. They've got a bit of a gap ahead now to Ream Gross, but something tells me that they're going to catch that up in no time at all. 8 minutes left in this race still, so plenty of time for those three to try and catch up to the race leader. Are we going to see a double win in this first opening round? We only saw it a couple times last season, so we'll have to wait and see what we get this time by. But Edo Isaac, once again, leading in the AM category. Not massively surprising, had a pretty good advantage on the starting grid, but still doing a great job there. Tomo Ventura also has to be said, 8 places gained. That's quite impressive.
Very, very impressive. We watch Chacha going down now into the corner, trying to get the move done there on Masholem in that penultimate corner. We've seen a couple of moves fire off there, but it looks like that Reuven's going to have to wait another day as they come out on to the start finish straight away there. There you can see the move for the number 42, poking his nose to the inside of what will be the 90. He's going to have to be later on the binders here, probably give a little bit of a checkup in mid-corner. He does that beautifully. The 777 hoping to get a little bit of a piece of the draft here, but I think for Chacha, he's going to be able to move himself up forward as they go, waiting to see if the Porsche has any response here. But these two hoping to be able to close in on the back of Malkov up ahead of them and be able to not let that gap extend too long. With, as you said, over halfway done here in the race and time starting to run out a little bit.
Yep, not a whole lot of time left, only about 6.5 minutes for the drivers to try and make any moves. Alonde still having to look behind at Tabashnik and doesn't have a massive amount of space in front, as we see it, and Scher in 4th position in the AM category just gets body checked off the circuit in towards the bus stop chicane. It just looks like a very awkward situation all around, so not entirely sure what happened there. But meanwhile, looking up a little bit further to the front, and it's Malkov trying to go all the way around the outside of Scherling in that Mercedes, really sending that real beast of a car all the way around the outside, inside, wherever you can find space throughout the entire event so far.
Yeah, he is, and the problem now is that Reuven Chacha there behind him is going to be trying to see if he can gain back in. This battling has allowed for that McLaren to be able to pull itself up ahead. Oh, that's a run off into the grass there for Malkov. Is that going to set him up for a little bit of a potential problem here? Looking for maybe a crossover to carry some more momentum as Chacha as they run. I'm amazed here that Malkov was able to stay that close behind Scherling despite that off. This is right now the battle for the final podium position in that pro category.
And we'll see what can happen. Just about 5 minutes left in the race, and I have a feeling this battle isn't going to end anytime soon. Looking towards the outside was Chacha's really there, and well, that wasn't ever going to work out. The gap was almost there, but just not quite. They all run wide out of turn number 1, and oh, massive into the wall, Markov.
Oh, I'm not sure if there was a little bit of contact there or if he maybe bottomed out coming over the curbing there. That is certainly possible on this new Watkins Glen rescan. And Malkov has taken a tow. He is back down pit lane. That is his race too, done and dusted.
Huge contact there, and yeah, like you said, the car, I couldn't tell either. It did look like it just got completely loose over the curb, but it was side by side as well, so maybe it was a combination of both getting a bit loose over the curb and then the contact sending him the other way into the wall, hard into the wall on the outside. Bare Armco as well, no tyre barrier there to soften the impact at all, so not really a surprise that the tow is necessary. We're going to see a replay now of what happens as he rejoins over the curb, a little bit of contact, a bit more contact, and there slams into the wall. I think it was they got locked together, and just coming over the curb unsettled him enough that it just sent him off onto the left side of the wall.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right there, that it was just a little bit of unfortunate running as they came into each other. We focus back here on Mizrahi right now, trying to see what he can get on Scherling. It looked like this entire race here that number 200 of Scherling has been the cork in the bottle for so much of this field. He is just running a fantastic defensive race. Jumping back in the field here a little bit, the battle for the podium positions in AM. Side by side are Stern and Ventura coming up, out, and a little bit of argy-bargy.
Yeah, a little bit of a netcode saved them there, I think, as they almost morphed inside each other on my screen slightly. But they are having a massive battle here in the closing minutes of this race, of this first event of the season here at Watkins Glen. And this battle a little bit further up the field isn't going anywhere either. As the two McLarens, it's Hagai Farron and Mir Mizrahi battling earlier on. They're battling again. They're both catching up to Amir Meshlem in that Porsche. The Porsche doesn't seem to be doing too well in the straights. Seems to be lacking quite a bit there. And I think that, yeah, Ventura and Meshlem both suffering from that same issue. As opposed to the McLaren, which seems to have just infinite straight line speed. We'll see now as they make their way up the S's here. John Chico in the McLaren is just going to drive straight past Ventura, it looks like.
Yeah, it just looks like that. McLaren, as you said, has great straight line speed, able to get a mega jump there out of the 90. Pokes his way to the outside there, trying to get by the Porsche. Not sure if that's going to be a lot of give and take. They're going to sort themselves back down into single file order as they run. Looks like John Chico not going to be able to get that move done quite yet, but he's going to keep pushing here on Toma Ventura right up ahead of him as they run. Going down now through the corners. Only about 2 minutes left to go in the race, so not a lot of time to be able to sort these positions out.
Just looking up a little bit further up in the field, we were looking at our race leader, and you can see there, Tabashnik and Day, despite battling each other, consistently catching up to Reem Gross out in front. And they're going to have one more lap to go. Well, we'll see. Is Tabashnik going to be able to get close enough? Half a second back. Definitely in the drafting range. But it's going to be tight. A little bit loose over the curb. Is Reem Gross, and the nerves definitely going to be setting in now. Is it going to be a first race win of the season? Or is he going to have a monster battle to the end with that Aston Martin that's very quickly closing him down in a straight line?
Yes, certainly is as they go. And you said white flag in the air for these drivers. Trying to see here if that Aston Martin for Tabashnik is going to have any sort of legs to be able to get himself forward. Trying to push about 0.5 of a second right now. That gap coming down courtesy of the draft. But it looks a little bit too far back, certainly, to be able to send a move down into the bus stop. I think Dorian's going to have to hope for a good run here down through the boot. And maybe that can give him the lead of the race.
Sending it over the curbs, both of the drivers. It looks like Tabashnik gets a bit of a better run out of the exit there. And all over the curb on the inside, trying to use as much on the outside as well. Don't clip the grass though, because that's a very easy way to send yourself into the opposite side wall. As we have a little bit more of a battle making its way over here, and more contact, and Chico's going to survive this one. But maybe the driver on the inside, not so lucky. It is the driver in the Porsche, it is Ventura, who has had to back out and give up that position to Stern as well. But these drivers back into single file again, but loads of drivers making contact here. Tabashnik, not quite close enough. It looks like in that Aston Martin, 0.4 of a second is the gap, so gained a couple tenths on this lap so far, but as long as Reem Gross can keep it together for the last 3 corners on the circuit, should be able to have this one in the bag. Very, very close, and probably filling up the mirrors is the Aston Martin behind. He's done a fantastic job keeping that pace steady for 15 minutes.
He certainly has. One more corner to go. As you can see just how hard Tabashnik continues to push, running wide there at the penultimate corner, but they bring their cars out of the final corner, headed to the start-finish line, and waving the checkered flag as Barney the flag man. That's going to be Reem Gross taking victory here in race 2. Tabashnik and Day going to be coming in behind them. Looking back in the battles through the rest of the field, Amir Mashola falling down the order there, unfortunately, into 6th in class. And Ido Isaac with, once again, the recovery and the drive of a lifetime there to be able to claim a victory in the AM class. A spin at the end, it's a big contact!
Huge contact. Ian Scher is into the pit lane almost. Just about manages to not cross that line, and awful rejoin, and he's upside down now as the 420 car. Oh, it's Galili. Galili on the final lap again, can't catch a break, and just slams into the McLaren that just pulled out in front of him. Drama on the last corner.
Massive, massive drama.
And he's just going to reverse over the
there you go.
line. Oh, he's not even going to make it. There it is.
There you got it. There you got it. Trying to put a little bit of an Elwood Blues there on it and do a nice little J-turn coming across the line. And that is going to be Galili coming home in P9 overall. Let's jump back here and take a look at this replay. This was Tal Stern that had the issue to start everything off, I think, going down to the final corner. It looks like he just carried too much speed there, lost the rear, didn't hold the brakes, and that is what set off the whole kerfluffle.
Yep, that is indeed. And then we just see the rejoin. Oh, that's awful. And the car just gets sent upside down, just stranded, sliding down the circuit upside down on its roof. And Galili just decides, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm not going to bother turning around. I'm just going to reverse all the way back. And then I'm not too sure why, but decided at the last second, or maybe I will turn around.
I think he was just going for a good camera shot there at the end. That's my best guess as to what he did. But my goodness gracious, talk about a fantastic second race here out on the order. There is your finishing order as they run with Ruven Chacha able to hold off and take the win over Alon Day. Dorian Tabachnik putting in a great run as well. Yari Malkov there and Ito Isaac up into the leaders there. John Chico, Michael Sherling, Reem Gross, and Nir Mizrahi obviously falling down the order, as did Amir Masholam. Finishing out there, it's Gabby, Yaron Tassoni, Farron Sher, Ben Yosef, Marzes, Last, Hesed, and Azale rounding out your top 20 as they run. But my goodness gracious, Dane, this is one of the better starts to the seasons I've seen. A lot of drama, a lot of good heads-up passing, and some really incredible running as they go. Some aggressive moves from drivers, setting up what is sure to be a fantastic season.
Yeah, I would like to make a request to Sam Fitzpatrick. Can we see a replay of the start of this race? Because I want to understand how they managed to get 4 wide, 2 rows back before we even reached the start-finish line.
Well, here is that replay of the start, and I have to agree with you there, Dane. This was absolutely ridiculous. A little bit of a check up there from the Porsche in front, and I think that's what really allowed everything. There it is! 4x2! Have you ever seen that?
They didn't even reach the start-finish line yet. Like, what is that? And then here is the most impressive bit, especially in the back row on the left. How did they manage to actually make it through there without just complete carnage? That blew my mind even more than seeing the 4 wide, 2 rows deep. But wow, what an incredible start to the race, and it just kept giving so much action. Quite a few crashes in the second race compared to the first one, but still, the drivers were not afraid of sending it up the inside, around the outside, straight through the car in front of them. But any way that they can get past the car in front, any possibility, 5% chance of that move paying off, and they would still go for it. And it was awesome to watch. And Watkins Glen, I think, because of its very wide nature and the fact that there's tarmac on the outside, there's not too much of a penalty for getting it a little bit wrong. Yeah, it definitely helped a lot there. It's one of the reasons I love the circuit. But yeah, just amazing racing in both races. But race 2 was just chaos.
Yeah, it really and truly was. And that's what happens when you have that invert coming on in, that it certainly does create a little bit of that unpredictability, a little bit of that, well, let's call it fun for us as commentators as it comes in. But I'll tell you one thing, this is setting up, I still can't believe this. I still can't believe that they got this to happen and then got clean down into the 90. That is, just a little bit of contact there between drivers, just some slight bumps and bruises, but they got through cleanly. How do you do that?
Yeah, just watching that again, I still don't understand it, honestly. That is ridiculous stuff. A good practice for them. I mean, they've done that, then there's no excuse for them running side by side anywhere else on the calendar anymore, is there? Because if they can do 4 wide, 2 rows deep into turn 1 at Watkins, then they can pretty much go side by side anywhere.
Yeah, indeed, they can. I've got to say, as it looks like we have got one of our highest place finishers here, Alon Day, ready to join us up here in the booth. A pair of podiums there for you on the day. This has got to feel pretty good. A good way to start the season, I would think, Alon.
I think a good way to start the season would be with a victory, but yeah, I'm pretty satisfied. It was a tough race with Dorian and Ruven Chacha. Yeah, but I'm very happy with the performance and the result today.
Well, I want to ask you because we keep going back and rewatching this, and the start of race two, four wide, two deep. How hard were you white knuckling that car coming down into the 90? Because I know we were hooting and hollering about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Someone in front of me. Well, it's a reverse grid, so I knew it's gonna be a mess in the first corner. Uh, and I tried to pass from the right side, but I didn't knew if I will get a penalty or not. So I was like really careful not to pass the guy in front of me until the start finish line, and yeah, I was just super careful. I didn't really realize I went down to second gear. This is how slow we were in turn one. But yeah, fortunately I survived that, and that was the main mission in the start of race two.
Well, I want to ask you a little bit about your car choice here. Picking the McLaren on the season, it looks like that car's pretty quick and pretty slippery in a straight line. Are you feeling good about it, or are there any tracks coming up that you may be a little bit concerned about that you may be caught out with?
To be honest, I don't feel good with any GT4 car or GT3 car, especially in iRacing. I think they're all pretty bad physics, especially under braking and things like that. That feels unrealistic, at least from my point of view. But yeah, I choose the McLaren just because I knew it's extremely quick in the straight line, and if you're quick here in the straight line, there is no chance someone will get away from you, and there is actually better chances to defend, especially from the Aston. I knew the Dorian will pick the Aston Martin, and that was a uh, good reason for me to choose the McLaren just because I knew I can defend from him, although it didn't work eventually, but. Yeah, overall, I just don't feel anything with those GT4 and ABS and all those. I think iRacing is really behind the competitors.
Well, I hear you on that, but nevertheless, a double podium for you here today to start off the season. Is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I think Tal Stern and Amir Mashulam, the guys who actually put everything here together, and the sponsors for the iRacing, the Israeli Championship. They did an amazing work, and they do that with a lot of passion and love to the sports, and it's really warming, like uh, feeling good to see the championship growing each year, and the competition become really tough. And I think they did an amazing job, and I appreciate that a lot. And I think they deserve a lot of appreciation. And yeah, and yeah, see you in 2 weeks, I guess.
We indeed will see you in 2 weeks, and congratulations on a good run. That was Alunde there, your double podium finisher. And Dane, I'll throw it over to you. We got a couple other folks waiting in the booth. Who do you want to talk to?
I think we will pick Mr. Reuven Chachashvili because he joined us now. And of course, race one winner. Didn't quite manage to get onto the podium for race two, but still pretty good way to start off the season.
Yeah, indeed. Hello, guys. Good evening. Yeah, the second race was a bit tough for me, trying to keep up with Alon and Dorian, which opened very aggressively and very quick. Though, yeah, first race was pretty hard, wasn't it? I mean, the fights with Dorian and Alon, and I mean, it was really interesting in the front. It was really tough. To be honest, I really enjoyed the race. It was a good race. It was a bit aggressive, but in the good way, you know. And yeah, you know, new season, new opening. Glad to finish first, at least in the first race.
Yeah, and you didn't join us you joined us for a first couple of rounds of the touring cars, I believe, but you weren't able to make it for a couple of the rounds near the end. GT4 is definitely much more your style.
Yeah, indeed. Actually, I was really enjoying the TCLs also, but I was a bit short in time. I didn't manage to practice, and I didn't want to arrive to races without, without practice or enough practice. I wanted to respect the others, which were practicing pretty much. So yeah, I decided to be prepared for the next season, and I'm glad that the GT4 was chosen. I actually voted for this car after the updates and the new cars, the McLaren, the Aston Martin, the new Mercedes. It became a pretty interesting season, isn't it? I really like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the next round in a couple of weeks' time, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. I think we've had it on the calendar a couple times in the Israel League in the past. What are your thoughts on that circuit in the GT4s? That's going to be quite a challenge.
Yeah, it's very challenging. Not my favorite kind of racetracks, but it is what it is. I guess I'll have to be more prepared as it's a pretty short track. The opportunities there are not um, uh, enough for racing and for overtaking. I guess that the qualify will be determined on the hundreds and not the tenths. So it will require many practice and yeah, looking forward to it. Not my favorite racetrack, but it is what it is.
We've got loads of really awesome American circuits. We've only got American circuits, and then obviously the Canadian,
Yeah.
Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. But yeah, it's a very interesting season up ahead of us. 5 rounds still to come, so plenty of time for you to increase your advantage. Because I believe you're going to be right near the front. Obviously, you will be after a race win in that first race. So congratulations for that. And we
Thank you
will
very
see
much.
a couple of weeks at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
First, for the league managers, I mean, I'm very glad that we have a new season, new energies, and other than that, to Amir and Tal Stern that are taking care of all of it, all the participants, you guys. And I want to give a big shout out to Hagai from Simrace, which was helping me with practicing in the last few months and is a really amazing coach for me.
Well, thank you very much, and we will see you in a couple of weeks.
See you. Good night, guys.
And that was Ruben Chachashvili there, making his way up to the top step of the podium on that first race, just missing out on the podium in the second race, but still fantastic performance from him on his return to the series.
Yeah, very fantastic run and a fantastic set of races that we had here today. And you heard Dane mention it there earlier. We will be back in 2 weeks' time to continue on this series as we head to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Qualifying going to be pretty important around there. But sadly for that, for today, that's about going to wrap things up for us here. So for from all of us here at Apex Racing TV, we would like to thank you for joining us here for the iRacing Israel League. My name is DJ Clark, and on behalf of Dane Baird and Sam Fitzpatrick, we have been honored to be joining you here today. And until we see you out on the track, thanks for watching.
Grade 2 direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit. Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.